Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be joining you this afternoon. What we're going to try to do is to give you an insight into one of the special interest groups, who we are, what we do, and an indication of why people have joined us, why it's so good to engage with the IFST. Next slide, please. So ours is a Phoenix group. Really, it withered on the vine about 4 years ago and disappeared. And John contacted me to say, look, can we breathe some energy into the group? And now we've gone from no members into 28 members, and we have a core team of 5 people, like most of the SIGs do. So John is very good at that, beware. He contacted me about 8 years ago. I was a passive member, got all the great things from the IFST, but really have been an active member in the last 6 years. And I was trying to work out how John had identified me. Was it my reputation, my capability? And no, I worked in Coca-Cola, which is 200 yards up the road from his office. And I think he wanted the nearest member that he could drag in to have coffee with and to help him with some work. But I think the great thing about the IFST is the more you get engaged with it, the more you give to the IFST, and sometimes the more you get out. Being selfish is a great way of meeting friends and colleagues, and SIGs are a marvelous way of doing that. We come from a very, very, very diverse background. I think that is our strength. So a lot of us are old, like myself, and a lot of us are young, like Sonia. And I think one of the problems with the SIGs, and maybe with the IFST, is people think you have to be really old and really experienced before you can make a contribution. And certainly in our SIG, we find it's new professionals who've got the energy and the new insights that are making a terrific contribution. And we're very diverse. We represent the whole supply chain from the shelf and food service. So we're fortunate enough to have people from Tesco who see on the selling, right through to the people in primary production and in food service. So again, that number of people we have gives us that extra insight, which is so important. And then the mix of us, who we are, is so very different about our backgrounds and also our expertise. We have chemists, we have microbiologists, we have auditors, and all that, I think, goes into a mix that we can add better value to our members, because that's one of our key things. So we represent the total food supply chain. Here we are as a group. This is our meeting from yesterday, which just shows us, next slide, please. So like most people now, we're a Zoom group, which in some ways means we get great attendances. Regularly, we get 28 people. And as Fidelma will show you what we actually do, she'll go through to the doing bit. But I think one of the important parts of our group is the fact we're connecting with people, and we do horizon scanning and looking at hot topics. So with that wide, disparate group, you can normally pick up what's going out there in industry and regulatory. We're fortunate enough to have some regulators. So you can actually play member bingo here and work out which of the members of the group there. And there's another slide as well you actually know. Next slide, please. So what's our mantra? So we're really, really clear on what we're doing. We're a doing group. We're not a great thinking group. And what we always aim to do is to add value to membership. So as a group, what do we want as members? What do members want? And try to feed that need. And then for the IFST, we're used to do horizon scanning and hot topics. So we're really connected to Natasha and Rachel, who often ask us to look at things, or we're feeding back. So these SIGs are marvelous for that. It's a great way that we can get integrated into the IFST. We've done a lot of work on COVID and a lot of work on food fraud recently, as they've been some hot topics. So that's where we come from and who we are. And now Fidelma, who's our secretary, who does all the real work, the hard work, will just take you through, just give you an insight in what have we done over the last year, and what are we looking at doing this year. Fidelma.
Thank you very much, Sterling. If I could have the next slide, please. It certainly has been, we certainly are a doing group, and despite the pandemic, the group have been disseminating food safety policy through a series of webinars, the Food Science and Technology Journal, and indeed the IFST website. I don't have enough time here to discuss all the events, but I'm just going to mention a few that might be of particular interest. In March last year, the COVID-19 Hub was developed, and in there's a guidance for the SME food operations. This is an incredibly useful source of knowledge for small businesses who want to sell meals to NHS staff and other consumers. The hub is packed full of links to websites which contain useful food safety information for those preparing food and selling food at home via various social media platforms. The hub can be found on the IFST website. In August last year, we had Senior Technical Manager for the GFSI, Claude Marie Quinton, and she talked to us about the impact COVID-19 had on auditing and certification. Marie explained the reason why the GFSI took their approach to not auditing sites during the lockdown. Marie also explained that the GFSI are recognising organisations who are training food safety auditors and are looking at the Raise to the Top initiative. The SIG group have extensively discussed food fraud and how the pandemic lends itself to such a potential risk. As a group, we have encouraged members to join the Food Authenticity Network and to subscribe to the National Food Crime Unit newsletter. Our very own Dennis Tracy and Hayley Ward-Ivan are passionate about this subject, and I have used both FAN and the National Food Crime Unit newsletter as resources of information when preparing food defence risk assessments. Over the course of the year, a series of webinars have been delivered on remote auditing, digitisation, AI and futurist. Andy Kerridge played a pivotal role in developing and delivering these insightful webinars, which are also available on the IFST website. Sterling wrote copy for the IFST journal on allergens within the food service, which was linked to Natasha's law, which of course is due to be enforced in October this year. I'd also like to mention Dr. Roy Betts' introductory talk to the IFST publication, the book Microbiological Criteria for Foods. Dr. Betts discusses the practical uses of the book when conducting risk assessments and when writing product specifications. Just moving into the future, we have a couple of webinars coming up, certainly two that I'm going to attend, and one's called Food Safety, Is It All in the Mind? And that's on the 15th of March. We've got Food Fraud Prevention, that's on the 25th of March. So log into those. Finally, I'd like to say a big thanks to Natasha, who keeps us all together, very busy and well behaved. And that's all from me. I'd like to pass it over to Sonia now.
Thanks, Fidelma. Hi, everyone. I'm Sonia Andre, so I'll share my personal experience. If you could change the slide, please. My personal experience of being a member of the Food Safety SIG. One more slide. Thank you. So when I considered joining the Food Safety SIG, I'd only recently gone freelance and I was still researching the market and trying to find my feet, basically. For the previous 15 years, I had been a technical manager in fresh produce. And so I'd been responsible and involved in quite a range of different topics and projects, which included food safety, of course, but also quality management, improvement, varietal innovation, ethical and social compliance, crop protection, post-harvest management, all sorts. And I knew I had a strong interest in food safety. But I was very aware that I wasn't quite a food safety specialist. I needed to learn more and I wanted to learn more. And I thought that joining the Food Safety SIG would be a great way for me to achieve some of that learning. Another reason why I joined is that I was missing working as part of a team in the corporate world. And I was hoping that being a member of the SIG would help me compensate for that a little bit, which it did. And of course, I was keen to join and try to help out. I was hoping, quite timidly initially, that I'd be able to add some value somehow with my knowledge, my background, or even some of my contacts maybe. And that's what happened in the first instance. And so I got in touch with Sterling. And I asked him about the food safety SIG and whether I could just try it out one time. And I never left. So 2 years on, I'm here. I'm a member of the food safety SIG and really enjoying every minute of it. It's a really great group. And so, yeah, that takes me to the other question about why I enjoy it. It's a really dynamic group. It's very diverse, like Sterling was saying, despite being specialized, if that makes sense. It's a very varied group in terms of its members' backgrounds, current and past occupations, supply chain steps represented, like Sterling was saying, products and sectors covered. We've got fish produce, ready meals, catering, manufacturing, retail, we've got everything, certification bodies, consultants like myself, very, very varied. And so together we have a really good, comprehensive and rounded knowledge of what's going on in the UK and beyond on food safety. But also, so what's going on now and what's happened in the past, and also very aware of new emerging challenges. So that means that every meeting that we have, every discussion is always really interesting and insightful. And we're forever looking for ways in which we can share that knowledge to support other food professionals. And there's one more thing, if I may add, that I particularly love about the food safety SIG, is that no one, Sterling, this one is for you, no matter their careers, titles, their connections, reputation, fame, whatever, no one ever calls themselves an expert, a food safety expert. And every new member is always made to feel really welcome and encouraged to share their views. And I always thought that was really humbling. I said, Sterling, there's other really like great food safety guru, but all really humble. So it makes it a really safe place to have a good discussion. So yeah, in summary, I think the Food Safety SIG is a great group. It's really open, it's very active, and it's always interesting. So over to you, Sterling.
Thank you, Sonia. Next slide. I think you put it really well there, Sonia. None of us really consider ourselves as expert, but when you get 30 of us in a room or online, then we do become an expert. And I think that's the value we can add. And certainly you and Fidelma add so much value to our group. Really just a summation, guys, there's two ways of looking at SIGs, isn't it? We can either look at the IFST as our professional body and a charity, and I think we should really be saying to ourselves, don't ask what the IFST can do for us as members. It is about us saying, what can we do for our institute? So there is that kind of approach to it, which we should be supporting our professional body. We should be getting involved. And a lot of people think there are barriers to getting involved in the IFST because it's only people with big job titles or lots of experience. And as Sonia put it so well, the IFST's strength is the diversity that it has in our members. So no one should feel there's a barrier to getting more involved. And then if I could be a bit more parochial, there is a very selfish reason. So when I started to get really involved about 6-7 years ago, hey, you make great friends, you meet great colleagues, you learn so much. I think that's the biggest thing. No matter what you think you know about your field, there's always somebody that can give you a different view. And it's such fun, as Sonia says. I mean, when you get engaged with people who share your enthusiasm, who share your love for the subject, they're really lively, enjoyable, friendly, and I say fun meetings as well. So my shout out to you as members. If you're not engaged with the IFST, can I urge you to get involved? There's lots of different groups you can get involved with, and that would just add great value to the Institute. And say, don't underestimate what you can get out of it as well. So thank you very much for your time from our special interest group. And thank you, Sonia and Fidelma.